Watch a man when the room goes quiet. Not when he's speaking, not when he's performing, not when he's shaping himself to be understood, but when nothing is demanded of him and there is no audience to manage. That is when the face changes, when the mask loosens just enough for truth to leak through the cracks. A man's face is not decoration, it is evidence. It records what he has endured, what he has chosen, what he has refused to become. Every scar is a decision made under pressure. Every still muscle is discipline, earned through restraint. Every unspoken thought sits behind the eyes like a locked door, heavy, sealed, deliberate. Most people don't like that door. They need noise to feel safe. They need reassurance to feel seen. They need movement, chatter, emotion, constant feedback to distract themselves from what silence exposes about them. Silence removes excuses. It removes performance. It reveals hierarchy without saying a word. And power, real power, has no need for sound. It doesn't shout, it doesn't rush, it doesn't fidget for approval. It sits still, it watches, it waits. There is a weight carried by men who don't rush to fill space, a gravity you feel before they ever speak, a pressure in the air that tightens posture and sharpens awareness, an aura that doesn't ask permission to exist because it was earned internally long before it was noticed externally. These men are often alone, not because they failed socially, not because they lack skill or charm, but because they stopped begging reality to make sense for them. They accepted it as it is and adjusted themselves accordingly. The Sigma male doesn't announce his presence. He doesn't chase attention or explain himself preemptively to make others comfortable. He lets the room adjust to him or fail to, and most rooms fail. People call him distant, unapproachable, cold. But what they really mean is that he doesn't soothe their anxiety. He doesn't mirror chaos. He doesn't rush to emotionally regulate strangers who haven't earned access to his inner world. He is calm in a world addicted to agitation, and that calm feels threatening to those who survive on noise. The Sigma male isn't alone because he's broken. He's alone because his internal order exposes external disorder, and most people would rather label the mirror than confront the reflection. Loneliness isn't the punishment. It's the side effect of clarity, and from that clarity, everything else begins to reveal itself. Number one, solitude is not absence. It's selection. Lonely men search for company, disciplined men filter for alignment, and that distinction changes everything once you understand it at a cellular level. The Sigma male does not isolate because he is afraid of people, rejection, or intimacy. He withdraws because precision demands distance. Noise distorts judgment. Excess weakens clarity. And most environments are optimized for distraction, not depth. Where others chase presence to feel validated, the Sigma removes himself to remain calibrated. History has always favored men who ruled quietly, men whose power did not need witnesses to exist. Marcus Aurelius governed an empire while writing reminders meant only for himself, not to impress, not to persuade, not to be remembered in the moment. No audience, no applause, just internal order. That same discipline defines the Sigma's path. He does not stand above society looking down in contempt, nor beneath it seeking permission. He walks beside it, fully aware of its rhythms, incentives, and illusions, yet untouched by its constant demand for reaction. Solitude for him is not emptiness. It is a refinement process. It strips away those who mistake stimulation for connection, who confuse constant conversation with meaning, who speak only to avoid sitting with their own discomfort. In silence, motives are exposed. In space, intentions reveal themselves. Conversations that exist purely to numb boredom fall away. Relationships built on convenience dissolve. What remains is clean, sparse, intentional. This is where most people fail the filtration. They cannot tolerate the absence of validation long enough to discover who they are without mirrors. The Sigma can. He understands that clarity requires subtraction, that strength grows when attention is conserved, not scattered. He does not need to announce his withdrawal or explain his absence. Precision never asks for permission. The fewer voices around him, the sharper his internal signal becomes. And while others interpret this distance as coldness or arrogance, it is neither. It is discipline in its quietest form. The Sigma chooses alignment over approval, coherence over comfort, and long-term sovereignty over short-term belonging. That choice is lonely to those who don't understand it, but to the man who walks it, it is not loneliness at all. It is order. Number 2, why composure replaces aggression. Cinema lied to men for years. It told them power looks loud, violent, explosive, and like cinematic chaos packaged as dominance. It trained generations to believe that authority is proven through outbursts, raised voices, broken objects, and visible force. But when you look closely at the scenes that actually stay with you, the ones that burn into memory long after the credits roll, they are never the explosions. They are the pauses, the moments where nothing happens outwardly, yet everything shifts internally. The unreadable stare that gives nothing away, the controlled breath taken in silence, the refusal to leak emotion when pressure demands a reaction. Characters like Bateman or Shelby don't intimidate because of what they do. They intimidate because of what they withhold. They sit comfortably inside tension while others fidget, explain, overreact, or collapse. They let silence stretch until it becomes unbearable for everyone else in the room. That's not brutality, that's control. Real power isn't loud because it doesn't need witnesses. The Sigma male understands this instinctively. He doesn't study violence, he studies restraint. He doesn't rehearse dominance, he practices regulation. Psychology backs this without romance or mythology. The man who regulates his emotions maintains leverage. The man who reacts hands his power away in real time. Every visible reaction is a disclosure. Every outburst is information. Every defensive explanation is a crack in the frame. So the Sigma slows his responses. He tightens his expressions. He becomes economical with words, movements, and reactions. Not cold, precise, not distant, contained. He learns that unpredictability isn't created by chaos, but by calm. When people can't read you, they can't manipulate you. When they can't predict your response, they lose positional advantage. This is where the myth of disappearance is misunderstood. The Sigma doesn't vanish. He condenses. He becomes harder to locate emotionally, harder to provoke psychologically, and harder to pull into unnecessary exchanges. He becomes a ghost, not absent, but ungraspable, present without exposure, observant without participation, and people don't fear him because he threatens them. They feel unsettled because they can't decode him. The silence, the pause, the stillness, it forces others to confront themselves. In a world addicted to noise, the man who masters quiet becomes impossible to ignore. Number 3, silence makes people confess. Silence is a mirror, and most people cannot stand what they see when it reflects back at them. Faced with stillness, they rush to fill it with nervous truth, with over-explanation meant to soften their position, with oversharing meant to buy acceptance, and with over-promising meant to secure relevance. Words spill, not because they are needed, but because silence exposes uncertainty. The Sigma male does not interrupt this process. He does not rush to reassure, correct, or dominate the moment. He lets people speak themselves into exposure, not out of cruelty or calculation, but out of restraint. This is not manipulation, because manipulation requires intent to control. This is observation, and observation requires patience. He understands something most never learn early enough to benefit from it. Words are expensive. Every sentence reveals position, motive, insecurity, and need. Every unnecessary explanation is a leak of power. Silence, by contrast, is currency. It costs nothing to hold, yet it appreciates the longer it is maintained. When he speaks, it is deliberate, weighted, and precise, because he has already gathered the information others gave away for free. When he pauses, it is intentional, not because he lacks confidence, but because he knows pauses create gravity. Silence forces others to lean forward, to fill the space, to show their hand. This creates distance, not because he rejects people, but because most relationships rely on emotional noise to survive. They are built on constant reassurance, constant validation, and constant reaction. Remove the noise, and the structure collapses. What remains is truth, and truth is uncomfortable for those who depend on performance. The Sigma male does not chase connection through chatter. He allows alignment to reveal itself naturally. Those who are secure remain calm in silence. Those who are unstable unravel inside it. In this way, silence becomes a filter, not a weapon. It separates intention from impulse and substance from performance. He does not need to announce boundaries, because silence enforces them. He does not need to prove intelligence, because restraint demonstrates it. While others rush to be understood, he waits to understand. And by the time he finally speaks, the room is already adjusted to his presence. Silence has done the work. Number 4, the shadow is not suppressed, it's integrated. The Sigma male has met his shadow, not the romanticized version people quote, to sound intelligent, but the real one that lives beneath restraint and silence, the one formed by anger he chose not to act on, impulses he dissected instead of obeying, and a darkness he refused to outsource to excuses, trauma, or society. This is not weakness. This is discipline. Carl Jung was precise when he said that what you refuse to confront will eventually control you, because avoidance does not dissolve power, it concentrates it. The Sigma understands this early, often before anyone is watching, often in isolation, when there is no audience to reward virtue or punish restraint. He studies himself the way others study opponents. He maps his reactions, his rage, and his desire for destruction, not to unleash them, but to understand their limits. That is why he does not posture. That is why he does not threaten. That is why dominance rituals look childish to him. He knows exactly what he is capable of, and that knowledge removes the need to advertise. Men who are unsure perform. Men who are dangerous remain quiet. Stillness is not passivity, it is containment. A man who has integrated his shadow does not need conflict to feel alive, because chaos no longer validates him. He does not seek to dominate rooms, conversations, or people, because he has already dominated the most volatile territory there is, himself. This is why his presence feels heavy without being loud. This is why his calm unsettles insecure men and confuses those who mistake noise for power. He does not need to prove he exists, because he has already faced the part of himself that could destroy everything and chose control instead. That choice creates gravity. That choice creates restraint. And restraint, when paired with capability, is what real authority looks like. A man at peace with his shadow does not chase validation, applause, or fear-based respect. He moves with precision, speaks when necessary, and withdraws without resentment. He already knows who he is. And when you know that, nothing outside of you needs to bend for you to stand firm. Number 5, emotional independence is misread as detachment. Most relationships are built on emotional outsourcing, an unspoken agreement where one person becomes a container for another's stress, a regulator for their moods, and a mirror to reassure their sense of identity. It's subtle, normalized, and rarely questioned, but it forms the backbone of many connections. The expectation isn't partnership, it's emotional labor. Someone to absorb the chaos of the day, someone to stabilize inner turbulence, someone to remind the other who they are when they feel uncertain. The Sigma male doesn't play that role, not because he lacks empathy, but because he has already learned to sit with his own internal weather. He doesn't outsource his storms. He observes them, understands them, and regulates them internally. That self-mastery changes the entire dynamic. This doesn't make him cold or distant, it makes him autonomous. And autonomy is deeply unsettling in a world built on mutual emotional dependence. When a man doesn't require constant reassurance, validation, or emotional maintenance, it quietly exposes how many relationships rely on need rather than choice. People begin to feel something unfamiliar around him, not rejected, not disliked, but unnecessary, not unwanted, but unneeded. And that feeling is uncomfortable. It removes leverage, it removes the invisible role they were playing. So they retreat, often without confrontation, often without words. The Sigma doesn't chase them back, not out of pride, ego, or emotional shutdown, but out of alignment. He understands that chasing would mean re-entering a dynamic where he must become smaller, louder, or more emotionally available than is true to his nature. He knows that real connection isn't built on filling emotional gaps, but on mutual presence. If someone chooses distance because they cannot anchor themselves without him doing the work for them, he lets them go without resentment. His stillness isn't indifference, it's clarity. His silence isn't avoidance, it's self-respect. And in that close, quiet space where there is no chasing, no convincing, and no emotional bargaining, the Sigma remains grounded, unmoved by withdrawal, unchanged by absence, and fully intact in who he is. Number 6, influence without presence. Seeking. Power that seeks attention is unstable because it depends on reaction. It rises when it is noticed and collapses when it is ignored. It must constantly announce itself, reinforce itself, and remind others that it exists. That kind of power is loud, restless, and fragile. In contrast, power that exists without witnesses is permanent. It does not need validation to survive. It does not adjust its posture based on applause or resistance. It simply remains. This is the kind of power the Sigma male embodies. His influence is not built through force or performance, but through consistency. The same tone, the same pace, the same standards, regardless of who is watching. He understands that repetition done calmly becomes unshakable. While others react emotionally to shifting circumstances, he responds the same way every time. Not because he lacks feeling, but because he has mastered it. He refuses to react impulsively. He refuses to give chaos access to his nervous system. This refusal is not weakness, it is discipline. He does not dominate rooms with volume or presence. He anchors them through steadiness. When he enters a space, Nothing spikes, nothing sharpens, nothing escalates. The environment adjusts to him, not the other way around. People begin to notice this without being able to explain it. They notice how he doesn't flinch under pressure, how his expression remains unchanged when others tighten, and how he doesn't rush to defend himself or prove a point. They notice how he doesn't escalate when challenged, how he allows silence to do the work that most people try to accomplish with words. They notice how he doesn't perform for approval, doesn't shift his personality to fit the room, and doesn't chase alignment. That contrast creates gravity. In a world addicted to noise, restraint becomes noticeable. In a culture built on reaction, neutrality feels powerful. The Sigma male understands that chaos exposes those who rely on stimulation to feel relevant. When everything around him becomes loud, frantic, and emotionally charged, his calm begins to stand out as something rare. And rarity commands attention without asking for it. In moments of disorder, people instinctively look for what remains stable. Calm becomes authority, not because it demands obedience, but because it signals control. The Sigma male does not need to claim leadership. His nervous system communicates it. Others feel regulated in his presence. Conversations are slow. Tension diffuses. Decisions become clearer. This is power that cannot be taken away because it was never granted by others in the first place. It is self-contained, internally generated, and quietly permanent. The Sigma male is not alone because he lacks connection. He is alone because he refuses counterfeit closeness. He knows noise is cheap, stillness rare, and calm expensive. Men who pay that price don't blend in. They endure, observe, and remain. Quiet, unmoved, and unforgettable, by choice, disciplined, sovereign, patient, precise, grounded, and alone.